Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome. It is the Vegas Take. Happy hump day everybody. It is Wednesday, isn't it? Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. A lot to get to, a lot to go over. As always, JD Sharp in studio. I am Brian Shapiro, also broadcasting live on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take, so be sure to check that out. Boy, do we have a lot to go over, especially what took place yesterday, Iran's response. Donald Trump just made some statements in front of the press. We're going to go over that here in just a few minutes. Coming up in hour number 2 as well, I think it is important to note, even though it is extremely difficult to read our producer's handwriting as I try to attempt to read it as we speak. But there was a settlement in regards to this kid Sandman. Do you remember those kids that were out there? And then you had this guy of Indian descent that was banging the drum. We all remember that story, right? Well, there was a settlement. CNN did pay the family. So we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up in the 10 a.m. hour and why I believe that kid didn't deserve 1 cent. We'll get to that. And also in hour number 2, he is known as Donald Trump's little trickster. He is a right-wing conspiracy theorist. I would also say a very controversial figure. He's going to be joining us in hour number 2, Jacob Wohl. This is a kid with I guess you could say, I'm saying it in nice terms, a very, very, very troubled past in regards to some of the things he said and some of the things he's done. So it should be interesting. He'll be joining us in hour number 2. George Lopez, a lot of people talking about his ridiculous comments in regards to some people in Iran about the assassination of Donald Trump. Well, guess what? George Lopez got a visit from the Secret Service, rightfully so, I believe. So we'll talk a little bit about that in hour number 3. Larry David making the rounds, by the way. I love this guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's doing some interviews. They're very, very funny, and it involves the NFL and the NHL. We'll explain what that means coming up here in just a little bit. And also a UNLV preview. They are on the road today. Big game, conference game on the road against a pretty good Boise State basketball team. UNLV's won, I think, 4 in a row? They're 3-0 in the Mountain West. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up in hour number 3. But obviously, first, we're going to talk about the Iran strike, the response yesterday, and the best news that I can report, and I'm really happy to report on this, is that yesterday in Iran's response, no Americans died, no troops have died, and that is, to me, that's the most important thing out of all this so far anyway, and that is really, really good news. Really good news. Now, Iran's supreme leader says these missile strikes at bases are just a slap in the face, and they warn it's not enough. So I would imagine there'd probably be a bigger response. But Donald Trump spoke this morning, and I want to play some of his comments, and then I'm going to talk about why I'm disappointed. But let's start with Donald Trump talking about this strike on our airbase. Here it is.
Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. No American or Iraqi lives were lost because of the precautions taken, the dispersal of forces, and an early warning system that worked very well.
Okay, so obviously that's a good thing, and I agree with the president said. If, in fact, Iran is stepping down, we don't know that for sure, but if, in fact, Iran is stepping down and taking a few steps back, then I agree. That's a good thing for all parties. But here's where it gets interesting. I thought during this press conference that we would get specifics and that we would get information as to why there was an imminent threat and why Soleimani, or as I like to call him, General Salami, why this had to be done. Here's Donald Trump's response to that.
In recent days, he was planning new attacks on American targets, but we stopped him. Soleimani's hands were drenched in both American and Iranian blood. He should have been terminated long ago. By removing Soleimani, we have sent a powerful message to terrorists. If you value your own life, you will not threaten the lives of our people.
Well, first of all, let me just say, many of these terrorists, particularly the terrorists that attacked us on 9/11, did not value their own lives. So many people in other countries that want to hurt Americans do not value their own lives, and they're willing to risk and kill themselves at the hands of killing other innocent Americans. So I would say that to Mr. Trump, number one. Number two, all he said as far as the imminent threat was that he was planning new attacks on American targets. What targets? When? What was he planning on attacking anybody in this country? There is a new person that is taken command where General Soleimani was and is. There is a new person in charge.
With less money, less charisma, less experience.
What do you mean less money? Any of these attacks are helped to be carried through by the government, not out of pocket.
I'm saying Soleimani was an extremely wealthy, very, very powerful man in Iran. The person that's taking his place is not the same person.
Well,
he's not going to have the same advantages and experience that Soleimani had.
We will discuss that. I want to play one more cut, though. This is Donald Trump, and this is, to me, what is most shocking about this press conference, because you have a lot of people on the right that are talking about, well, let's bomb these guys. Let's get rid of them all. Let's get rid of this country. You know, some people on the right are saying some pretty extreme things, and I'm very surprised. You know, a lot of right-wingers, a lot of warmongers out there were saying one thing, and Donald Trump said something else. So this is what Donald Trump plans to do in response. Have a listen to this.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
There's a lot of people that are very surprised. He's talking about sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people on the right, yesterday at least, were talking about what will the response be? Are we going to nuke these guys? Are we going to bomb these guys? Are we going to get rid of all these people? And he's talking about sanctions. Now, so here are my thoughts on everything that we just heard. Here's my opinion on what we heard from the president this morning. Mr. President, it's not enough. There are horrible people around the world. It's not even up for debate. This guy, Soleimani, was a terrorist responsible for hundreds, maybe even thousands of innocent lives, many of which Americans. That's not up for debate. He was a horrible guy. He was a terrorist. He harbored terrorists. There's no question that we should all rejoice in the fact that this guy's dead. But with that being said, we need to know, did it go through the proper channels? Was the intelligence correct? We're not learning any of the information other than, well, he was planning new attacks on American targets. I believe we need more information than that. That's what I'm really disappointed at here. And I go back to the Iraq War, and I say it time and time again. You know, we started an ill-advised war with Iraq. Thousands of American troops died. Tens of thousands of innocent Iraqis died. We were told there were weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It wasn't there. And I think it's very important to be skeptical. I think it's very important to ask more questions.
This seems like whataboutism with the George Bush regime, Brian.
This has nothing to do with the George Bush regime and has everything to do with intelligence.
You're talking about the war in Iraq and the fact that it was ill-advised because there wasn't actually WMDs, and you're basically assuming that the exact same thing that put us in that war is behind why Soleimani was killed.
If you listen to what I say, I'm not assuming that this is faulty intelligence. I never said it was faulty intelligence. What I'm saying is it's fair to ask more questions and try to get more information. I'm not asking for everything to come out. Obviously, there's some stuff that is classified. I understand that. What I'm saying is this, and I think it's very fair and very logical. If we're going to go after an evil man like Soleimani, we deserve a little bit more information. And the reason why I bring up the war in Iraq, I'm not bringing it up for political purposes. This has nothing to do with politics. Yeah, I think George W. Bush and his administration made a huge mistake that cost a lot of lives, but I'm bringing it up because the point I'm trying to make is sometimes our intelligence might not be right. They could be wrong. All we know in this situation and all that Donald Trump has said and all that Pompeo has said is that Soleimani was planning new attacks on American targets. Now, you look at some of the evil people throughout the world that we've never gone after. I would mention Yasser Arafat was one of them. What about Kim Jong-un? What about Vladimir Putin? These are just evil, murderous dictators. And Donald Trump is writing love stories and love letters to Kim Jong-un. If we're going to take somebody like this out, what's next?
I can guarantee you if Kim Jong-un attacks a U.S. embassy, he will be responded to. Same with Vladimir Putin. That has not taken place yet. Again, Soleimani had a group of Iraqis that attacked a U.S. embassy, and he met with that group again.
But what we don't know is what was the imminent threat. We keep hearing imminent threat, imminent threat. What was the imminent threat?
He had been a part of missions like that for 20 years. Would it be crazy to assume he was planning more of these missions?
Well, you can't assume something when you do an attack.
So you think he was going to stop?
You can't just assume.
You think he was done being a criminal?
I don't know.
He was done being a terrorist?
I don't know. I doubt that. I don't know. But what Donald Trump talked about was roadside bombs that he set up.
Okay, so if this guy was a terrorist for 20 years and say he killed a collective 5,000 people, and we stopped him from being a terrorist for 5 more years or 10 more years or however long you wanted to be a terrorist for him, he had the money, he had the connections to do it. You aren't happy about that? You don't think that's a complete victory? All you're worried about is the fact that maybe Trump didn't go through the proper channels to kill this guy?
No, that's not what I'm worried about. Here's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about our troops being killed. I'm worried about
no troops were killed.
Yesterday. No, but can you say for the next 5 to 10 years that that's going to happen with certainty? Can you say that? That's what I'm worried about.
In general?
Yeah, in general. Can you say that?
I can guarantee you that over the next 5 to 10 years, there will be United States military troops killed.
Can you say that?
To some degree, at some point in some war or some training mission or something.
Can you say
that will absolutely happen?
Can you say with certainty?
Which is why they are the military.
Can you say with certainty that this has saved lives and it won't more lives won't be lost? Can you say that with certainty? Because I can't.
I can say with certainty that this has saved innocent lives, yes.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you if it saved innocent
lives. I'm not talking about the military, Brian. The military, they do what they do for a reason. They sign up for a reason. They get major benefits. They're guaranteed compensation because there's the risk that they are going to die. So, when they're deployed, there's a risk. They're at a much higher risk than we are that they're going to die. And they assume that risk.
So we shouldn't question things then? But
this definitely saves civilian lives.
Okay, this
guy being dead is a good thing.
But you're not listening
for
to me.
The entire world. And it's a great thing that we were able to send the message, and Trump was totally right, that if you do want to do what Soleimani did, you want to support terrorism, we have no problem taking you out.
I
had a conversation with my brother who's in the military. He told me that one of those rockets, and there was about 24 of those shot yesterday, could easily kill 100 people. He believes, and I actually believe, that this was a save-face response by Iran to make their people happy, more or less. He thinks that the United States was told what was going to happen. They were told to hide. They were said, hey, hide your troops. We're going to bomb you. It's more of a save-face situation. And it was just kind of obligatory on Iran's part to not look weak. And that's where all this is coming from, Brian.
Okay, but you didn't excuse me, you didn't answer my question. And the question was this. Can you say with certainty that because of this God, talk.
You all right, Brian? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, can I say with certainty that because of what?
Sorry, I was coughing.
Hey, it's all right, no problem.
Can you say with certainty that this will save lives in the long run?
I think yes. Yeah, I think
yes, but you can't say with certainty, right?
I'm 90% sure that it will save lives in the long run. Why would you say that it won't?
Very simple. 2 words: Iraq War. There are a lot of people, including Democrats, by the way, including Joe Biden, who voted for the war in Iraq. When that took place, Democrats and Republicans came together and said, this is going to save lives in the long run. We need to find those weapons of mass destruction.
And again, Iraq was based on patriotism, rally around the flag because of 9/11. If 9/11 didn't take place, I don't believe Iraq would have taken place to the degree that it did.
Which made the war wrong.
And there's no situation here.
Which made it an ill-advised war.
There is no rally around the flag situation in this particular circumstance.
Then why are we not getting more specifics then about this imminent threat? We heard from Donald Trump today. Today we heard from Donald Trump about this guy, roadside bombs. Do you know how many terrorists out there in the world have set up roadside bombs and have killed innocent people? Are we just going to go after every evil person out there? You know what I think, JD? Here's what I think. I think war is about money. For the most part, I think for the most part, war is not. Hold on, let me finish.
Let me finish. Definitely part of the conversation.
War, for the most part, to me, is not about saving Americans. It's not about protecting America. It's about money. Just ask Dick Cheney and Halliburton how that Iraq war went out, okay? So I'm not going to buy into this equation that this is only about saving American lives and don't mess with America. I believe this is about money, okay? I've always believed war, for the most part, is about money. That's what the Iraq war was about, and I believe this is about money as well, and I think it's a bunch of crap. And the fact that Donald Trump gets up there, and by the way, he didn't answer any questions, okay? Questions need to be answered and asked to the President of the United States. He read a written statement that clearly he didn't write. I want to hear from President Trump in a situation where he's not reading from a teleprompter, because I think the families of those troops that are being sent overseas deserve to know. Let me give out the number. If you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. Maybe some of you agree with JD. Maybe some of you agree with myself. Let's hear what you guys have to say. Let's start with Steve. Steve, thanks for calling in to the Vegas Take. What do you make of all this?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, good morning, guys. This is Steve with the 100,000.
Right.
So, JD, I want to say something to you about this mentioning the general as a terrorist. I listened to a congressman this morning who's an Iraq vet. Matter of fact, he's a captain in airborne. And he says that the problem with calling a general from a state, a country. I mean, this guy was a general, just like we'd have General Petraeus as a general. You can't, when you name him a terrorist, then they name us terrorists. Then all the rules of engagements cannot be applied, and that's particularly why the Trump administration did that, because they want to purposely take him out. So first of all, if you stop calling him a terrorist, I know he did bad things, but he's a general. So that's already by saying he's a terrorist. He's not a terrorist.
Well, hold on a second.
I'm calling him a terrorist because
he's a killer. He's a killer.
He's obviously a killer. The United States put it.
He's not Osama bin Laden hiding in caves. He's actually.
Well, Osama bin Laden is the king terrorist. I mean, he's the top of the line. You can still be a terrorist and not be at the level that Osama bin Laden was. And obviously, Soleimani wasn't at that level, but he was probably in that conversation. I call him a terrorist because the United States listed him as a terrorist in 2019.
The Trump administration did. Yeah, the Trump administration did. The Obama administration and the Bush administration never did, because, like I said, once you name him a terrorist, then the rules of engagement in the military, you can just go after him.
All right. Well, I think we're speaking semantics here, but let me just say this. I think the last resort should be an act of war, and this could be an act of war. Now, listen, if this guy was specifically planning on attacking sites in this country, if this guy was trying to take out thousands of our own soldiers, I have absolutely no problem with that. I just want more specifics. We're not getting those specifics.
Well, now what if the specifics would be a situation where the United States would have to go to war after that, and killing him was to prevent starting a war? And I actually believe that Iran was involved in this. I believe Iran tipped us off and told him exactly where he was at that time. I think he wasn't as well liked as everyone is saying. And again, Iran, as far as the attacks yesterday, Iran had to do something, to not look completely weak. They had to do something to save face. But the fact that there was 24 rockets shot off and not one American died, obviously we knew it was coming. Obviously we knew it was coming.
Go ahead, Steve.
They don't want to escalate. But the thing is, what I'm saying about this killing this general, why it was a bad decision strategically, is because you got to think about all our allies like Saudi, Dubai, Israel. They can go after Iran. They can go after Israel. They can go shoot. They can go to Dubai and blow the whole city.
Steve, listen.
So you're not really making our allies in the region safe.
Steve, make no mistake. Absolutely, Steve. Listen, make no mistake about it. You make some valid points there, and those are some of my concerns. Those are many concerns of many, both Democrats and Republicans. The response. I don't think it ends here. I hope it ends here. We'll see. 257-5396. Thank you for the call, Steve. Let's go to Al.
Good call, Steve.
Al, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What do you make of all this?
What's up, Al?
Good morning. Hey, guys. Listen, I think JD makes a really valid argument, and I think what ends up happening quite a bit from the time I listen quite often, is you have a tendency, Brian, to try to frame a question a specific way to get the answer you want from JD.
No, that's not true.
And I think that was the argument that we were making. And I'm going to ask you one question, and I'm going to hang up and let you guys discuss it.
Okay.
Do you think that Salami, as you call him,
yeah,
regardless of any imminent threat or anything else, just based on his history, what he's done,
yes,
did he deserve to be killed?
Absolutely.
Regardless of whether or not
absolutely.
there was another threat.
100.
So then why does it matter?
Okay, when you say, okay, very simple answer. When you say deserve to be killed, if he died in a car accident, if he fell off a cliff, there are a lot of ways you could die. But when America commits this act, there are consequences for the act. If he dies in a car crash or somebody in his own country decides to execute him, we don't have consequences. There's something called consequences, okay? It could be, and I say could because we don't know yet. It could be an act of war, and it could put our men and women at risk. So when you phrase a question like that and say, do you feel bad if he deserved? Of course not. If he died in any way, I'd be happy, and we should rejoice. But I want to know what the imminent threat was, Al. I think it's a very legitimate question to ask, and I don't understand why you don't understand my point there. Of course he deserved to die. Anybody who kills, let me be very clear on this, even in our own country, anybody who murders anybody in this country, in my opinion, deserves to die. I am for the death penalty. Of course, I think this bastard deserved to die. He killed hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. But there are consequences for America going after this guy. I got about 1 minute. Let's go to Andy. Andy, what's going on?
What's up, Andy?
Hey, Brian. I just want to say, you talk about the imminent threat. You want to know what happened with the imminent threat.
Yes.
Why does it matter? He killed our soldiers. He killed innocent people. He's gone. He will not kill anybody anymore in the future, not one single person. So for that, he deserves everything that came to him, and he's gone. We don't have to worry about it.
So in your personal opinion...
Good point, Andy.
I don't think it's a good point. Here's why. In your personal...
Of course you don't.
Why don't you hear me out? In your personal opinion, if anybody kills an innocent person, and if you're an evil, murderous dictator in another country, America should kill you. Is that your position?
Not only America, anybody.
So we should execute Kim.
England should kill them.
Okay, hold on.
Here's the deal, Brian.
We should execute Kim Jong-un and fire missiles over there. We should execute Vladimir Putin then, because that's your position, correct?
So here's the difference with that. They are actually changing their tune and actually talking to us and actually doing things possibly that could change their tune, let's just say.
Where is the information? Where is your information that would point to the fact that they are not going to continue retaliating?
Well, considering that Trump was over and actually met with Kim Jong-un and actually talked to him, he's not killing anybody anymore. He actually stopped the missiles from flying overhead.
I didn't say kill Americans. I said he's an evil, murderous dictator. I didn't say kill Americans.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is, exactly.
Brian, you're not considering the fact that Soleimani attacked a U.S. embassy. If Kim Jong-un does that, and if Putin does that, we'll respond in kind. Basically, this guy had it coming, and he gave us a reason to do it.
Well, I'd like to know exactly what that reason was. We got to take a break. 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call. Be a part of this conversation. Calls on the way back, 257-5396. Be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. This is where you get stuff from a Vegas perspective. And, of course, we always love hearing from you. The number, 257-5396. By the way, Congress will be receiving some classified briefings within the next few hours, from what I've heard, on salami strike, as I like to call it, and these Iran developments. So, listen, we're going to get more information, hopefully more specifics that maybe some people in Congress will be able to share with us. Not all. We don't want all the specifics. We don't want to comprise, most of our intelligence. But I think we need more information than just, well, this guy put up some roadside bombings. Yes, he's a murderer. Yes, he killed Americans. And new attacks were on the way. We need a little bit more information than that, in my personal opinion. And our producer, Jason Stein, brings up a really good point. And I pose this question to our listeners if they want to call in. What if Iran went after one of our bases, and then Barack Obama's response was sanctions? I know that Republicans and people on the right would be going frickin' nuts. They'd be going crazy. They'd be calling him every name in the book. So I also pose that question to all of you. What if Obama, reacted in this way when Iran went after our bases and the response was sanctions?
Yeah, caveat here now is, would that be before or after he paid them $150 billion?
Well, I didn't agree with that.
I think after, you're probably right, but before, probably not.
First of all, anybody who goes after Donald Trump, I want to say, well, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? And to be very clear, I was not for that payment in any way, shape, or form. We have enough problems in our own country. I was completely against that payment, but I also will say he didn't start any wars either. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. I do think that is a fair criticism of Barack Obama. I think it is fair to criticize anybody, but I will say Obama is no longer the president of the United States. Let's go back to the phone lines, and let's start off with Paul. Paul, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Paul?
Hey, so I know you're wanting specifics, but, like you said, if you start giving specifics, then our intelligence they would have the opportunity to figure out who the intelligence is coming from. And I don't, it's no matter what the president does, he's not correct.
No, I disagree.
I think he was correct for the strike that he made, and now that he's doing sanctions, the further along this goes, the further along I feel to believe that Iran was in on this, and I think they wanted this guy gone. Because you know what? How do you launch that many missiles and not kill anybody?
Exactly.
I believe that they wanted him gone, and it was kind of like we would both get a little egg on our faces to get rid of him. And now I think that what they're going to do is, since we've done sanctions, they're going to begin to comply, and it'll last for a little while, and then later on we'll have another dust up. But
well, first of all, let me respond to what you just said, Paul, and say, as an American, I certainly hope you are right. I certainly hope that Iran and America can get along. We don't want any more innocent people to die, so I agree with you. In response to how do you throw out all those missiles and nobody gets hurt, nobody gets killed or hurt, well, we have a response to those missiles based on technology, and I think it is very possible. I don't know if Iran and the U.S. were involved together in knowing that this was going to happen. Certainly, if they are, and they gave us those warnings, then that is a great sign. But we don't know. But, Paul, we don't know that for sure.
No, but actually, Brian, there's 1,500 troops on that base. Not one of them died
because of the technology that we have.
Because they were told in advance, in my opinion, what was going to happen.
Paul said it.
And they were probably all standing in a gymnasium.
Okay, well, Paul just said it. We don't know anything for sure, and
I just think that the diplomacy is extremely complicated. It's not like two people having an argument and coming up. You know, there's so much at stake as far as lives, money.
Oh, there's no
freedom,
question, Paul.
everything.
But Paul, don't you think it's fair to be able to ask questions and to be a little bit skeptical based on the Iraq War?
It is, but then again, I mean, obviously it's an analogy, but when your parents made a decision, whether you liked it or not, you had to live with it. And you know what? Sometimes you make decisions as a parent that your kids may not like.
So are you saying that Trump is Brian's daddy?
Thank God he's not.
Not really, but I think, obviously he's the one leading our country, and these decisions can't be easy.
I understand. There are difficult. I understand, Paul.
About killing anybody.
Paul, I get.
But the point is, he's protecting us.
I understand, Paul. Listen, Paul, I get your point, but at the same time, parents make difficult decisions based on a few people, kids. The leader of the free world makes decisions based on millions and millions of people. So while I kind of understand your analogy, I think it's a poor analogy. I understand what you're saying, though. I hope that you are right. 702-257-53.
Good call, Paul.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good. What's up?
Hey, sir. So I was just replying to what you said as far as how Republicans would react to Obama if it was just sanctions. And I think it's important to note that it's also talking about the sequence of events. So if there would have been an attack on a U.S. embassy and Obama would have responded with a military act and then didn't respond to a subsequent act by Iran and just responded with sanctions in order to de-escalate, I think a lot of people would support that. But if it would have just been an attack and there was no provocation and then our response would have been just sanctions, of course many Republicans would be very upset because they would expect a military response to a military question.
Okay, that's a fair point. Let me respond by saying this. And I'm not going to mention any names here, but there are some wacky right-wing talk show hosts out there. You know who you are. There are some out there in the world, particularly in this country, that are warmongers that say nuke them all, kill them all. And I'm going to tell you something about some of those people. They're cowards. You know why they're cowards, Anthony? Because many of those people and some of those right-wing talk show hosts are the same people that never served and are the same people that would never send their kids overseas, but yet they want to say, go, 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 fight, fight, fight.
Of course, we're talking about the Lindsey Graham podcast.
Well, I never listened to the Lindsey Graham podcast, but he is a coward, by the way. He sold his soul to the devil. But do you understand what I'm saying, Anthony? While everyone has a right to their opinion, I never have respect for these warmongers who never served, some of them who never served, many of their family members never served. Many of these politicians, they're not sending their kids overseas. Some of them are, a very small percentage of them. But if you're going to be pro-war and you're going to be a warmonger, I want to know if you served or anybody in your family has served, because my first concern, Anthony, is those brave men and women in uniform, and I don't want to put them in harm's way. And that is who I'm thinking of first.
I got you 100%. I completely agree with you. And I just got to respond. My name's Mike, but thanks.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry about that, Mike. We have a lot of.
No problem. I agree with you 100%. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Good call, Mike.
Sorry, Mike. I got a full screen of callers, and sometimes I get my names
Here's
mixed
the
up.
difference between the Obama administration and the Trump administration. Obama would have paid another $250 billion.
No, he wouldn't have.
He would have tried to stop war by paying him off.
That's not. That's ridiculous.
Trump says this is not going to fly. I'm going to take out one of your top military leaders.
Don't even get me started with the comparisons to Barack Obama and Donald Trump, because there are plenty of them, and Barack Obama actually had some respect.
Right. Let's talk about the relevant one, though, Brian. In this particular situation.
The relevant one?
The relevant one,
Do you realize
matching the topic that we're discussing, not the fact that Barack Obama is a quote-unquote good man.
No, Obama, do you know when
Donald
Obama
Trump gets involved in trysts and hangs out with prostitutes and pays off people and lies, etc. I'm talking about with this particular situation and how he's handling Iran.
Let's talk about
and how Barack Obama handled Iran.
Okay, let's talk about that. That's fine. Do you realize Donald Trump was the guy that tweeted out when Barack Obama was president, he's going to just start a war with Iran because he wants to become president? Do you realize it was Donald Trump?
And Donald Trump is already president. His polling numbers are not down. They're actually extremely high right now. He doesn't need any help. This guy should have been dead a long time ago, and he finally did the job. He did the world a favor by killing Qasem Soleimani, and especially in the way that he did by ripping his freaking body in half.
Excuse me.
If you look up Qasem Soleimani right now, his body, it literally looks like it was cut in half.
Okay, that's fine. I'm happy about that. That's great. I'm not concerned about that.
Because I'm very pleased about it as well.
Okay, I'm sure you are, but I'm not going to be pleased if more of our men and women in uniform die because of it. Number to call, 702-257-5396. By the way, we haven't even discussed this Ukrainian plane that mysteriously went down. I believe 67 Canadians were on this flight, and you're telling me that there's – hold on a second. You're telling me that there's no comparison or it's just – what a coincidence that this plane goes down at the same time that this missile strike was happening when all these innocent people were on this plane. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. What do you guys think about that? You're telling me that this plane wasn't shot down? I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Trump didn't mention it. I want to talk about that.
New information came out. Iran will not give the United States the black boxes on those planes.
Yeah.
On that plane.
I do find it also.
Obviously there's some negative things going on there. There's some.
What a shocker, by the way, that nobody said the word impeachment this morning. None of the right-wing talk show hosts want to talk about that the president was just impeached. I do find that interesting. What a distraction. 702-257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yes. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
What's up, Anthony?
It is a problem that we're taking on generals. I don't agree with it. I think people like me who deployed, who killed a lot of people based on giving orders and orders taking, I think that, now we could become targets. I think this is setting a horrible precedent. You deal with generals in certain ways. You deal with how Clinton dealt with one, where you catch them, you put them on trial, and you put them away for life because they're dealing with orders.
Right.
I think that our generals ordered the killing of, 200,000 Iraqis?
Uh-huh.
But now they can be targeted. So I don't agree with this. I think that we are Americans for a reason, and we are the best of the best for a reason. And we deal with rules of engagement.
Yeah.
So,
Anthony, hang on the line here, Anthony. There are two different scenarios here, okay, that we're going to talk about. There's scenario number one where this is a complete disaster, and Iran, we lose all cooperation with Iran. Many of our soldiers are put in harm's way and die. More innocent people die than if this guy was alive. And then the other scenario, the other side of it, is that this guy was an imminent threat to America. It's a good thing for the world and this country. Maybe perhaps the Iranians wanted this guy gone too, although I doubt that when you have hundreds of thousands of people that are saying death to America. Millions, right. So I don't know. But there's two different scenarios here. Either it was the right thing to do or it wasn't the right thing to do. Listen, if it was the right thing to do, then American lives are going to be saved, and we're going to save some money in the process too. And if it was the wrong thing to do, we're going to spend billions of dollars and more people are going to die. It's one or the other.
And you talk about a million people saying death to America. There's 80.1 million people in Iran. That's roughly 1.5% of the population of Iran. If this guy was that popular, the number would be about 25 million, not one.
I disagree with that. I completely. If a million people take to the streets and are screaming death to America, that is not a good thing to America. That's just. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I don't think that the one thing about this general and the way he worked is that he has proxies in Lebanon, in Syria. So he has proxies now where they're all preparing, right, to attack any time that it's given an order to do so. I think that now we really have to think how we deal with this differently. I think that in Iraq right now, he had 500,000 proxy unit of 500,000 people. We have 3,000 there right now.
Yeah,
imagine.
Yeah, no, Anthony, that's a very valid point.
Yeah, it's a lot of work we have to do with this. we'll see how this goes. Again, Trump is our commander-in-chief. He gave the order. We have to obey it as members of the military. I'm retired now. I'm no longer.
Yes,
but
thank you for your service.
If given that order, I would have taken it because he's my commander-in-chief.
No, and I know you would have, Anthony, and you're one of those brave men and women in uniform, and we appreciate your service and your phone call. Thank you, Anthony.
Good call, Anthony.
702-257-5396. Was this the right move? Are you happy with the press conference that Donald Trump gave out this morning? Do you think that it is fair to ask questions? Do you think that it is fair to be skeptical? Do you think that it is fair to say, well, wait a second, a lot of people on the right, are they happy with just sanctions when Iran goes after our military bases, whether somebody died or not? Are you happy with that? 257-5396. Let's go to Ed. Ed, you are next up on the Vegas Take. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, in October, you were complaining that Trump was pulling troops out of Kurdish areas and betraying the Kurds.
Yes, I was.
These 4 servicemen wounded, a contractor killed, was in the Kurdish area of Iraq.
Yes, I was.
So you want the troops there. It's betraying the Kurds. When the troops are there, they come under attack. Then you say, well, Trump's wagging the dog and distracting.
No, I didn't say that.
Impeachment.
No, you're putting words in my mouth, Ed. First of all, let's start with your first comments.
The tape for you.
Okay, well, I'll say the exact same thing. You could play the tape all you want to. I know what I said, and you're absolutely right. I said that, and by the way, so did Lindsey Graham. And so did just about almost every Republican was on my side on that one. And they were very disappointed with so don't make it like, only lefties or talk show hosts that maybe dislike Trump were saying that. There were Republicans that couldn't be more supportive of the president that were against the withdrawal of troops in Syria. So that's number one, Ed. That's very.
Well, you want the troops there if they're attacked.
Okay, I'm just pointing out. I'm just pointing.
Well, Joe,
okay,
that's okay.
I'm just.
Then we have another reason to attack Trump.
Hold on, Ed. I didn't finish my response. I'll let you respond. I just wanted to make the point that you're saying that you're going after me for saying that, I was criticizing Trump for withdrawing the troops out there in Syria. All I'm trying to tell you is many Republicans agreed with me. So that's number one. I'm not alone on that, and Democrats aren't alone on that. Number two, when we are talking about this specific man, all we learned is that there were new attacks on American targets, and I'm saying we need more information. Maybe it was the right response, but even idiots on Fox News like Tucker Carlson agree with me that we can't just go after every single evil, murderous person in the world. So that is my concern. So I don't know why you're bringing up Syria. I don't know what that has to do with this.
We have troops in the Kurdish areas in both Iraq and Syria. And that was the topic. But we lost 4,500 troops under Bush due to hostile action, 1,750 under Obama, and 60 under Trump. So it's bad to lose troops, but I'd rather lose 20 a year under Trump than 220 a year under Obama and 500 a year under Bush. So he's been doing a good job protecting the troops. If I think that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Okay. Well, certainly the bottom line is we don't want any of our troops losing their lives. I don't disagree with you. I hope that trend continues where, lives are saved. I'm not so sure that this act on General Salami will save lives. Time will tell and give us the answer. 702-257-5396. A man by the name of Mr. Love on the line. Mr. Love, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. What's
going
on?
What's up, Mr. Love?
Hey, it's CJ, right?
That would be JD.
No,
My
JD.
name is
JD.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was driving. I couldn't hear.
That's okay.
I just want to salute you guys today. Generally, Brian, it just seems like you're so overbearing. Please don't be offended. I know you can handle it. But today, you're letting the other brother talk a little bit more, and I love his points that he's making. I'm going to start listening again. I've got quite a large network, and a lot of us haven't listened because before, Brian, you were really sharp with one of our friends and kind of cut him off.
And why did I do that?
Because he said something about your IQ, and you took offense to that, and Tucker Carlson an idiot.
Yeah, he is.
And,
well, hold on a second. Let me just start from the beginning here. If somebody calls up and doesn't make a valid point and just says I have a low IQ, I'm not going to keep somebody like that on the air. The reason why I go after Tucker Carlson because he said something I would never say on or off the air. The idea of white supremacy is a hoax. A week or two after 22 people died in Texas, El Paso, at the hands of a white supremacist. So you are correlating me hanging up on somebody because they said I had a low IQ to Tucker Carlson saying that the idea of white supremacy is a hoaxer. I'm sorry, but that's idiotic. With all due respect, I hope.
No, I get it. You're right.
Then why are you bringing that up? Then why are you bringing it? Then why are you bringing it up?
I was just telling you why I'm going to start listening more often.
I appreciate that
because I'm hearing both sides of the issue.
Yeah, Brian. He was saying
just a leftist radical. I mean, you always are 1,000 points against Donald Trump and everything he does.
Okay, so let me ask you a
I
question.
want to give you a hug, bro.
All right, well, let me ask you another
word.
question. Okay, well,
radical is a good word.
Let me ask you another question, Mr. Love. So it is your position that if you dislike Donald Trump as a human being, you think he's a horrible human being, that is your definition of a leftist radical? Please be specific.
Well, let me just say, I've actually met him. I've actually been his executive
So
protection.
what? So what?
I'm saying
So you
I know
shook
he's
his
not a horrible individual.
Really?
I know
so you
that
shook
he's not a horrible person.
So you shook his hand.
A...
So you shook his hand and took a selfie with him, and because of that,
No. It was a little more than that.
It was.
I'm in the observation business.
I see. Okay.
Close to him and his family.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
I could see through observation and the way he treats his children and people around him.
How he treats
races.
his children and people. Okay, so let's go with that for a second, Mr. Love. Let's go with that for a second. How he treats people.
Brian,
hold on a second.
Hold on.
No,
hold on, Brian. Do you understand what's going on? He is complimenting you, and now he's and you asked him, well, why? What did I do wrong? And he's telling you what you did wrong.
He just called me a radical leftist.
And now you're trying to defend yourself.
Excuse me.
When the whole entire call was predicated on him. So just accept the compliment.
No.
You're not perfect. No one's going to always.
Didn't say I was
You're starting to act like Donald Trump. You want everybody to love you.
Thank you. Oh, then Mr. Love must like me then.
That's
I
not
must
the
be a
case
great
here,
guy,
Brian. He's just telling you why he stopped listening and why he's going to continue listening. And now you're getting mad at him.
Let me explain
for
why I'm mad.
why he stopped listening.
Let me explain why I'm frustrated. Let me explain, Mr. Love, why I'm frustrated. You called me a leftist radical. Okay, I voted right and left. I am very fair. I'm
an independent as well.
Okay. So would I call you a right-wing radical? Have I ever called you that before?
You probably have mentioned other people that I have similar views with.
Okay, well, I don't recall ever saying that. The point I'm trying to make is just because I dislike Donald Trump doesn't mean you know my voting record. And just because you spent 10 or 15 minutes with Trump doesn't mean he's a great guy. Let me explain why.
Brother,
sure. Let's just say you spent weeks and months with him and you went on an island with him, okay? The bottom line is this.
No, that's not our party, bro.
Well, facts matter, and here's facts, okay? Facts are he went after John McCain, and he said he didn't respect him because he was captured, okay? That
was a bad comment that he made.
It's not a bad comment. It shows character, and it means you're a bad person. Number two, he had unprotected... Hold on, I'm not done yet. He had...
I know. Let you talk, brother.
Okay, thank you. He had unprotected sex with a porn star just months after his wife had a child. That's number two. He is the king of infidelity, and I mean the king.
Wow.
He goes after...
Yeah, see, I don't believe that. I mean, I live in Vegas.
You don't believe that?
I know a couple of kings of infidelity.
So explain to me what that $120,000 payment was, please.
Well, if he's having sex with a former porn star, happened, that's really none of our business. It was way before
you just said. Listen, you're the one who brought in good person, not me.
That if the man likes to have sex, doesn't mean he's a freaking
liking. Excuse me, liking to have sex and cheating on multiple wives are two completely different things.
Brian,
please don't distort the two.
You don't know what those arrangements were.
Being unfaithful is a horrible person, is what you're saying.
Anybody?
Good Lord, there's
excuse
quite a lot of us out here.
I wasn't done.
I've never done that.
Excuse me. I
wouldn't judge somebody forever and ever over
I wasn't done with the list, okay? By the way, going after POWs and Gold Star families and illegal immigrants, and by the way...
Oh, now look how he's been with Gold Star families, Brian. Be fair.
I am being fair.
How many times have you seen him on TV?
Do you remember what...
20 or 30 Gold Star mothers.
Do you remember
how he's treated them?
Really? Do you remember what took place, the Democratic National Convention, when that family... I'm getting interrupted once again. Go ahead, JD.
He likes to isolate the one negative thing. There could be 45 positive things, but he isolates that one negative thing.
I agree.
I have about 45
Brian to
negative things.
A little bit, man. You don't give any credit at all, ever, to our president, ever. It must be. I don't know why. There's different reasons I have.
I can give you the best possible answer.
Just let a couple of things go, bro, and relax a little bit.
No,
that's my opinion.
Okay, well, here's why I don't.
He's not a bad president.
Okay, he's a bad person. There's no doubt about that. And I know you want to claim that you know the man very well. He is a horrible human being. And
I disagree with you 100%.
Okay, well, if you think it's okay to cheat on multiple wives and go after POWs.
I don't think it's okay.
And you think, hold on, I'm not
a horrible person.
Okay, well, how about attacking a woman based on her looks? Are you okay with that too?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, but you're just going to give him a pass on those three things that I just mentioned.
I'm not okay with that.
Okay, well, guess what?
But listen,
that's what he's done.
I'm not a guy from New York that's been raised up like that. and I'm sure
I know
he's
many
evolved.
people. Excuse me. I know many people in New York that do not go after POWs and go after women based on their looks. So don't make the excuse because he was born in New York.
Politician before either.
That's not an excuse, and that's not an excuse. And I know many people that are not politicians that don't go after POWs and women. So would you like to make another excuse?
Have you ever heard of forgive and forget and try to move on?
Forgive and forget and try to move on. Really?
You have to worry about an ulcer and things like that. You're so aggressive. I know that there's ratings involved or whatever, but I don't believe that you really believe all the stuff that you're saying.
Let me tell you something, my friend. There are many people on the air all over the country that say things that they don't mean. I believe there are many people on Fox News that say things that they don't mean, and they try to appease to a base. Let me tell you something, man, and this is something you need to know about me, and if you don't believe me, that's fine. I really don't care. But I'm going to
okay. I'm listening.
All right,
brother.
well, here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it right now, and I mean it 150%. I have never said anything on this radio show that I didn't truly believe in my heart. Do you believe that about me, JD? Do you think I say things on this radio show just for ratings, or do you?
No, I don't. I think you believe what you say, and I know I believe what I say. And that's what separates our show from when no one's paying us to say anything. Well, what we're saying, we actually believe.
Yeah, let's try exactly. So, if there's one thing you take away from that phone call, my man, I do appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you're listening. Doesn't mean you're going to always agree with us. That's the beauty of this show. I've got about 1 minute for Alan. Alan, thanks for calling in. Quickly, go ahead.
Morning. I just wanted to say one thing. Having fought in the Middle East, I was actually greeted by the indigenous population after we tried to get close to them and help them out. Was actually told for an infidel, I wasn't a bad guy. So there's an ideology involved there. They're brought up different than we are here. Mm-hmm. And if we can embrace our ideologies instead of going after each other and trying to kill each other. And I've taken lives of enemy soldiers, so I know what I'm talking about.
Alan, hang on the line. Alan, I want you to hang on the line for me. I'm up against a hard break. Can you do that for us? Can you do that, Alan?
Sure.
All right. I appreciate your patience. And I'm up against a hard break. I don't want to cut you off. I appreciate your service, and I want to give you more time to respond. We've got other people on the line as well. 702-257-5396. I want to hear from those war veterans like Alan. We'll hear from him again when we come back on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.